We are weak. Our country is falling very quickly, and we are servile. Most people, I think, are, we just serve. We don't question. We just comply. And so I think that that's something that for the kids, we have to really pay attention to that. Don't become weak and servile. Stand for something. Be strong. Fight.
Tell me a little bit more about the kinds of, I assume you want to get more songs like this out so that you could develop a large group of listeners and convert kids from, listening to gangster rap. Is that part of the plan?
Well, for me personally, I think that, like I said, I have an album out with Hadas Levy. We have a collection of songs on there, all America First kind of music. And I think that that's really important for right now with this election coming up. But I think that long term, we need more artists who are singing about just everyday things in life that people can relate to, that kids can relate to. There's so many amazing artists out there. Jimmy Levy is fantastic. Ray Lynn's amazing. Of course, Hadas herself is really, really amazing. Brett Rayo is another very fantastic artist. Hi-Rez, and I cannot remember who he's saying. He just came out with a new song called Someday. Check it out. Hi-Rez the rapper. He's incredible. Really, really good musician. There's so many awesome performers. Stephen James is really good as well. There's so many musicians, though, who we just kind of ignore and turn a blind eye to how much fantastic music they are creating. And so personally, I would love to create more music whenever I have, the opportunity to. It's fun. I enjoy it. I think it's great for the times right now. But long term, I'd like to see more musicians like the ones I just mentioned really become more relevant in our culture.
And don't hesitate to sing.
I won't. I'd love to collab with any of them.
I love that roadmap you just gave us of people. I am very familiar with Hi-Rez. I've been on his YouTube channel, Hi-Rez, and I just think he's great. So that was really wonderful to give some other people who are doing great things to make music right. Can you talk about some of the people you feel are kind of the worst offenders in harming children? I mean, the harming of children is going on in our public schools. It's going on in the books they read. It's going on in all kinds of public libraries. There's all kinds of places that they're having an adverse impact on our children's future. Can you talk a little bit about the people you see as the worst offenders in manipulating children's minds with music?
Absolutely. Like you said, we talk about what's going on in the libraries and the schools, and something that's not talked about very much is music, and that's something that I think we really need to bring up more often. And so, oh my gosh, there's so many. It's really sad, honestly, thinking about how easy it is to list the worst offenders, as you call them. The VMAs just happened, the Video Music Awards, and that actually was aired on Nickelodeon. So this is a show where we have drag queens.
Right.
This is the show where we have very sexually explicit or suggestive music video performances. Sabrina Carpenter just did some, performance of some song, and she has these alien kind of creatures all over each other in a very sexually explicit way. This is on Nickelodeon for kids to see. And so I think we need to just really pay attention to what the kids are taking in, what they're seeing is normal. Doja Cat is not good. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Her song Demons that came out. It's disgusting. Her ideology is being pushed on the children. Taylor Swift is one of the most innocent, I would say. However, I think we have to be very careful when it comes to her, because so many people think, a lot of conservatives actually, I get pushback on her all the time. People are like, it's okay because, she's a liberal, but her music isn't that bad. Well, it's actually, she's normalizing the degeneracy of the other artists, like Ice Spice, for example. She came out with a song a few months ago. All the conservatives were up in arms about it. It was called "You Think You're the SHIT, You're Not Even the Fart," and disgusting music video, just pornographic, honestly. And it's just no restrictions, just there for the kids to see. Very popular artist herself. She has millions of followers. And Taylor Swift, of course, has her in one of her videos, and about karma. It's another thing, too, is the whole karma thing with these musicians is really very interesting to path to go down. But so people like Taylor Swift, though, who come across as the family-friendly one, they're normalizing this degenerate ideology in other musicians, and they're also normalizing it in their own music. Her music has recently taken a turn for the worse, I would say. Has gotten much more left-leaning, and so it's very interesting to watch, though. Ice Spice is terrible. I would say Doja Cat's terrible. Sam Smith, Jojo Siwa. There's so many. Lil Nas X, he did a lap dance for Satan in one of his music videos. he started out performing for kids. Actually, his music's on like kids video games, and they really try to just make it appealing to the children, I think. And then once they had this appeal, like with JoJo Siwa, for example, she was on Dance Moms when she was younger. It was a kids show, something kids watched, and then now she has songs out there called one called Guilty Pleasure, where she's all dressed up in this bondage gear and very inappropriately dancing with teddy bears on her head. I think is also kind of a Balenciaga-ish approach to her music video, if you guys remember that controversy. But it's very sad to see how much they coerce the kids into accepting this disgusting propaganda, really, and they're just pulling them farther and farther away from God. They're pulling them farther and farther away from good values, and we're really seeing it in our country today. We wonder why politicians like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are just so readily accepted in our political landscape. Well, the people have been conditioned for years and years, decades, to be more and more accepting of their ideology and of their, I guess, ideals for how they want America to be run. And so it's very sad to see, and I just think it's so important we turn this thing around in culture.
It was good to hear names, so many names I didn't know. I do have the fact that they had the VMAs on Nickelodeon is just another example of this evil stupidity, because evil is always stupid, right? It's like good people are smart and understand how to fight properly. The evil are stupid and will do anything, anything they can to win a fight. And so, it's part of that. The VMAs on Nickelodeon is part of the Disney, ABC News, ESPN thing. So they give it to the kids through Disney. They give it to the kids through the news and the coverage of the debate, for instance. But all year long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they're pounding away on good and promoting evil on ABC News. And then, of course, on ESPN, they're making all sports more political, which is taking the fun out of real people's enjoyment of the sport. I wrote an article a while back when some of my favorite teams started taking a knee, and I wrote an article for Newsmax that was entitled, "My 54 years of loving sports are now over." And I stopped watching all these teams. Virtually the only sports I could watch, because I never saw them take a knee, was college football and ice hockey. And so everything else, all my other loves, the big four, were out. And it was really quite a transition for me. But I also have something to contribute on the Taylor Swift front. I agree with the people and with you that say you've really got to watch this young lady because it's not good. I met and interviewed her when she was 15 years old in Nashville, and she was just on the verge, was on the eve of appearing with opening up for Alan Jackson at the stadium there in Nashville. So she was a nobody, literally. And I interviewed her, and I have a photo of her. She is the epitome of wholesomeness and innocence.
Yep.
And she was that way because her parents were around her protecting her. And I thought that was really a great thing, a great lesson. But what happens when the child becomes too old for the parents to protect? Well, they go hog wild. And I'm afraid that's what's happened to Taylor Swift. She's changed her musical genre. It's completely off the wall. So I love some of the things you said there. Tell me about being a Texas girl and the Texas culture. What do you love about Texas? Because this is appearing on the Epic Times new publication, The Texas Insider. And so I want to talk about some things that strike home to Texas viewers.
Absolutely. So I love Texas. Of course, I was born and raised here, and so it's my favorite state. It's a Texas thing. There's something about Texas pride here, very different than the LGBTQ pride. Texas pride's much better, believe me. But Texas actually, unfortunately, is getting more and more blue. Our cities are becoming more and more left-leaning. I know this firsthand. Really, I've grown up in San Antonio performing for the city officials, and I can tell you there's a lot of globalist agendas going on there. But honestly, I think Texas will always have, or I hope it will always have for a while, that kind of conservative feel to it. I was born and raised here on a little 7-acre property with horses and, the whole thing. And I love the Texas feel. I grew up walking along the fence line by the corral, and so the whole country thing to me is just super special. I love Texas. I love the whole country feel that we sort of have here. whether you're in the city or not, I think Texas is just viewed as a country kind of place. And so it's something I enjoy personally. I love country music too. Alan Jackson, as you mentioned a minute ago, Alan Jackson's a favorite of mine. He's just a fantastic musician, George Strait actually lives, or he did live right down the road from us for a while there. One of his horse facilities is right down the road from us. George Strait's another fantastic musician, great Texan. So Texas is just very special to me. I think we need to be very careful, though, that we don't let it go blue, honestly. I think that it's on the verge, and we need Texas values back in America. I think we're kind of seeing it more in Florida, honestly, right now. But I think that we need some more Texas values, some more traditional Texas values to take place again here.
Well, definitely. As a New Yorker who has lived in Texas and been close, Texas has been close to my heart for a long time. My best friend lives in Dallas. I've been all over Texas. I just love it. I think you're quite right to be a canary in the gold mine about infiltration. I think a lot of these people who are saying, no, I don't want to live in LA because I don't like the politics there. I don't like the high taxes. I question their motivation. I think a lot of them are really moving there just to ruin Texas. They've already ruined where they currently live, so they want to ruin Texas. Yeah. Good luck with that, I say, because I firmly believe in the part of Texas culture that says, don't mess with Texas, and everything's Absolutely. Bigger in Texas. So these chiselers that are coming from LA and Chicago, they're really not going to have as much of an impact as they think, because I think Texans are fighters, and I just love everything that goes on in Texas. What about movies? Are you tracking the cultural changes in movies right now?
I am a bit, and I think it's fantastic how much change there is in the film industry right now. I feel like a lot of people want just good film. I mean, you turn on the TV right now, and it's hard to find a show that isn't woke, honestly. You turn on TV, and it's like, okay, what propaganda am I going to eat today? And so I think that people are really hungry for just some good entertainment again. I've seen so many, Angel Studios is doing a lot of great work. There's a new one called We the Studios. I'm not sure if you're familiar. They're brand new. I think they're doing a fantastic job, though. And so I'm very, very happy to see a change in our culture with movies. I think people are sick of it, too. You see the ratings in the movies that are more woke ideology filled, and they're very low, honestly, in comparison to where they used to be. And so I'm loving seeing this change. There's so many fantastic movies coming out these days.
Yes. Well, I've been monitoring it since The Jesus Revolution came out a couple of years ago. Wrote an article review on that for Newsmax. And I just love the transition because it's so obvious. This is another area where we're winning. And, The Jesus Revolution, Sound of Freedom, which was an awesome movie. Of course, it's about a very difficult subject of child sex trafficking, but an important movie nonetheless, and beautifully acted. And then recently, I just saw the past couple of weeks, I just saw Reagan, which was tremendous, 98 on Rotten Tomatoes. And then I saw The Forge, which was off the charts, 100, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes. And now, today, Am I Racist? Matt Walsh's follow-up to What Is a Woman is coming out. And also coming out tomorrow, I think, or today, is God Is Not Dead, In God We Trust. And that's going to also, these are movies that are just taking over and people really want to go see. So I'm looking at the movie theaters very closely, and I'm finding that those particular theaters that are running great movies with good American values like this are overflowing. And the other theaters that are showing things like Beetlejuice, oh, please, Jesus help us. Those are practically empty, and thank God they are. So it's a really important transition we're seeing in movies and Hollywood and music like you're involved in. What would your message to kids be to close out this talk?
I would say just be so careful what you consume, because you are what you consume. You become what you consume. And I think when the youth of America are consuming just trash on a daily basis, and culturally, it's not just music. You said it's film, it's music, it's how we dress these days. There's a total disregard for anything. For girls, there's no class left. It's a very trashy culture. We've degraded ourselves to, just mere objects in so many different ways, not just women, but men as well. There was Michael Knowles. He's a fantastic commentator. I love
Yes.
listening to him. One time he said, when he's talking about Ice Spice, actually, he asked how we become so weak and servile as a country. And I think that was just a fantastic description of where we are. We are weak. Our country is falling very quickly, and we are servile. Most people, I think, are, we just serve. We don't question. We just comply. And so I think that that's something that for the kids, we have to really pay attention to that. Don't become weak and servile. Stand for something. Be strong. Fight. When it comes to music, it's going to be tough for a while until we have a lot of alternatives that are actually pushed into the mainstream. Because honestly, it's very hard to just avoid these degenerate musicians that are all over our culture. But in the meantime, do what you can to put something positive into your mind, into your soul. Put something into yourself that is that's uplifting and that has good values that you want to emulate as a person. Don't just consume whatever the mainstream feeds you. So be careful with that. Keep God front and center, and fight, like Trump says.